Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. So a couple things to get out of the way real quick. I just wanted to point out that the reprints of The Fish Fly #2, as you can see, I got both covers. Those came out this week. So if you'd already picked up those at your local comic shop, you should be able to get them replaced with these. Apparently there was one of the pages towards the end had a repeated word balloon. So that's been fixed. So just wanted to point that out at your local comic shop. And really, before we get started, the sad news yesterday that comic creator Keith Giffen passed away, sadly. He was 70 years old. Obviously, you know, his work on Legion of Superheroes is seminal. He co-created Rocket Raccoon, Lobo, created Ambush Bug. He did a lot of work. Most of his work was at DC, but he also did some creator-owned books at Image. Probably the most infamous one was Trencher. And also really one of his biggest things was the Justice League International with J.M. DeMatteis and Ken McGuire, and of course the Bwahaha. It's really sad, but you know, his legacy lives on in comics. So I highly recommend definitely checking out any of his work. He's really good, and probably one of the last things I remember him actually drawing was the Inferior Five with him and Jeff Lemire, and that I really enjoyed it. It wasn't a big sales hit, but I did enjoy it. So, comments from last week, I made the suggestion of maybe putting movies behind instead of comics for October for Horror Month, and it was suggested that I do that. So we're going to run through them really quick. We have Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. You can't go wrong with that. The Nightmare Before Christmas. Even though it says Tim Burton, it was directed by Henry Selick, who went on to direct James the Giant Peach and Coraline. Then we have George Romero's amazing Creepshow. It doesn't get any better than that. Written by Stephen King, directed by the horror master himself, George Romero. Then we have Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The original series, not any of the other ones. This is the best one. This is a really nice collection. It collects all the original first and second season episodes. Then we have Joe Dante's The Howling. It's really amazing movie, and Rob Bottin's werewolf makeup is amazing. Then we have the Oscar-winning Best Picture, Silence of the Lamb. Probably the only time a horror film will ever win an Academy Award. Then we have the remake of The Blob, which I'm a really big fan of. Chuck Russell did the remake. I love the original, but the remake was really just absolutely amazing in my book. Then we have, the classic John Carpenter's Halloween. It doesn't get any better than that. The original is still the best. And then finally we have Dawn of the Dead. This is actually the German 4K version that includes all the cuts of the film. There's multiple cuts, a bunch of special features and stuff. It's a really great package. Unfortunately, you have to get it from Europe, but being that it's 4K, the movies themselves are region free, but the Blu-ray supplement disc with the stuff on there is region B, so you have to have a multi-region player to play that. So we'll change those out next week. And so we'll keep going with the Halloween theme month for movies that you should definitely check out. I recommend all these, obviously. So first up, we have a new hardcover, The Night Before Christmas, a Futurama Christmas story, written by Karen Bates, with layouts by Jason Ho, illustrations by Mike Rote. And so what this is really a classic. I'll show you just a random page. It's like a kid's children's book with Futurama. Let me get that up there. It's really a lot of fun. It's a great story. The artwork's really nice, and it's a lot of fun. And it has the killer Santa Claus from Futurama that's really good. So definitely check that out. That's a hardcover that came out this week. Check with your local comic shop. They should They should be able to order it if they don't have it, but definitely check that out if you're a Futurama fan, which I am. So next up we have Batman City of Madness #1, written and drawn by Christian Ward. This is a DC label Bat book, and what it is there's a creature under Gotham that has been held at bay by the Court of Owls, and Talon, there's a rift within the Court of Owls, and they want to release the creature, and so it gets out. That's one part of the story. The other really main part of the story is there's a kid whose dad was a police officer, and he was gunned down by a mobster, and so he's come to Gotham to get revenge. So there's that storyline going on that kind of they kind of collide together at the end of this issue. I don't really want to give away anymore, but it's really amazing. Obviously, Ward's known for his amazing artwork, and it's definitely amazing here, but the story is really good. It's really kind of a gothic noir horror, with kind of science fiction thrown in at the same time. And it's a really great mix. And of course, visually, it's absolutely amazing. This is another win for the DC Black Label, which is always, honestly, I haven't read any of the Black Labels that I have not liked so far. So they're just really batting 1,000 on that. Next up, we have Space Usagi One Shot, written and drawn by Stan Sakai. The basic, it's really funny because it says Space Usagi, but that actually doesn't happen till the last few pages. And what you find out is this girl in the future is reading this Usagi story. And the basic premise of this story is that a girl gets kidnapped by a ghost. Usagi goes to this haunted house, and he has to defeat levels of creature to get her back. And it's actually, if for some insane reason you have never read a Usagi Yojimbo book, this is actually a good introduction. It's a one and done story that kind of gives you an element of classic Usagi and a glimpse of Space Usagi. I believe there is a Space Usagi series mini-series coming out soon. That I think this is why they're doing that one shot. But as always, anything from Stan Sakai and Usagi is always a win. The artwork's beautiful. The story's really solid and a really good one shot, and definitely well worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Creepshow #2 with the two stories. The first one, The Man with No Eyes, written by Michael Walsh, and then Keep It Down, written by Dan. Michael Walsh wrote and drew The Man with No Eyes, and then Keep It Down is written by Dan Waters with artwork by Abigail Larson. So the first story is a single father and a kid, and he has to go to work at night. So the kid watches TV, and there's this magician that's on TV, and it's hard because they're short stories, and I don't want to give too much away. Let's just say that the magician comes to life in real life, and it does not. It turns into a horror story. So there's that, and then Keep It Down is about a woman who can hear the dead, and basically they drive her mad. And once again, I don't want to say anymore, but there's a cost to be driven mad and trying to stop the madness that does not work out well for her. As always, I really, really enjoy this book. I like the fact that every issue is different, has different creators, and it allows just for different stuff, and that's always good. And Walsh really nails it with The Man with No Eyes. The story's really good, and the artwork's really good. And then Keep It Down, Waters. The story's really good. It's kind of really more creepy than horror in some respects, and I really like that. And then Larson's artwork's really nice on that, especially with the ghost and everything. Just really, really well drawn. Both are really good looking and great stories, so definitely check that out. Next up, we have Knights #1, written by Wyatt Kennedy, with artwork by Luigi I'm gonna mess this up. Formasano. I think I got that right. So basically, what this is, it's weird. It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic, but it's actually set in the past. It's set in 2003, and the United States only has 33 or 31 states now. And so what it is there's a boy Vince. His parents has passed away, and he's flying to Florida to stay with his brother Ivory. And one of the things that these states have is there's ghosts and vampires and monsters and stuff. So that's kind of the basic premise that there's states have kind of combined and stuff. And so when he gets there, he runs into this girl Gray who's a vampire, and she actually her Ivory and live in this house, or it's like a guest house of this couple. And so what it is Ivory is going to a new place, and then he kind of doesn't fall in love with Gray, but it kind of becomes a brother and sister, and then it shoots forward to where kind of things have changed. He's grown up, and the other thing about his brother is that he's into gangs, and he killed people for a living, and he's kind of a drug addict, or not drug addict, but he lapses and stuff. There's kind of a lot going on. I mean, I did like it. There's definitely a lot of exposition here in this first issue. I wouldn't say that I was overwhelmed. I think there's some good concepts here. I do like that it's a kind of a different take on kind of vampires and ghosts, to where they're just normally kind of live, that they're not necessarily monsters. But it's kind of one of those things. I think it's going to take a second issue to kind of see where it's all gonna where it's gonna all suss out. So I think it's worth checking out. For me, Sano, the artwork's actually really nice. Does a good job and everything. I just think that I liked it. I just didn't quite love it for this first issue, but it was definitely exposition heavy. Next up, we have Operation Sunshine, written by Henry Zabowski and Marcus Parks, with artwork by David Rubin. Now, this is a pure kind of vampire story, and but I do, it has a lot of the tropes, but I felt that it really kind of gave it a different feel. So what it is that so there's kind of like OV vampires, which are original vampires, and then there's people that have been turned, and they're basically referred to as blood bugs. And so they kind of these blood bugs leads fairly normal lives. Obviously they have to not be outside with the sun and everything. So the story really centers around Hex, this girl who ends up, she does deliveries and stuff, and she ends up going to this one guy's house, and it's kind of a setup because she's killed an OV vampire, and so she's now being chased, and it's really kind of interesting. I mean, I liked a lot of the premise of the story. Really, for me, the big win here is David Rubin's artwork. I love his artwork. I thought it was really a good story. I really enjoyed it. It's good setup and everything. And once again, Rubin really brought the story to life. I think the story, is kind of basic in some ways, but it had a lot of nice twists and turns that definitely made it feel different than just kind of a standard vampire story. And then again, you have Rubin's artwork. So I really enjoyed this book. Definitely worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Batman and Robin #2, written by Joshua Williamson, with artwork by Simone DeMeo. So this continues the story from the first issue. So it's an introduction of a new character called Shush. I guess she's related to Hush. I don't know. And we find out that there is a mysterious person kind of overseeing this that has hired Hush and the other villains that attacked Batman and Robin in the first issue. And basically they're doing experiments on people to combine DNA. And so Batman and Robin are, kind of trying to figure this out. And then, of course, Damian's big nightmare in this issue is going to school. This is a fine Batman book. I think it's a good, solid, mainstream Batman book. I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to, blow you away. In some respects, this is a good book for like newer readers or somebody who's looking for like a Batman story. And I think Williamson does a nice job. It just, it's one of those, it doesn't do anything super special. It's solid and everything, but it doesn't excel at being amazing. But it's on the other hand, I don't think it's trying to either. And that I think is a smart move. Then DeMio's artwork is really, it's a really gorgeous book. Just the layouts are quite different for a kind of mainstream book, but like I said, I think it's a good solid Batman book, just not going to be particularly amazing. Next up we have American Psycho #1, written by Michael Calero with artwork by Peter Kowalski. So really, you definitely need to have seen American Psycho to kind of get this. What this story is kind of a prequel to the movie. That's really the best way to describe it. It's kind of like before it's, you kind of see the events in the movie. So that's really what this story is. The story's fine and everything, it sets up the characters and everything, as a prequel. And Kowalski's artwork's nice. I just think it's one of those, I think if you haven't seen the film, you're going to be like completely lost. And if you haven't seen the film, I don't know why you would pick up the book, but it does a nice job, and it's kind of an interesting story doing it as a prequel, because obviously if you've seen the film, I don't think you can do a sequel to it, so we'll leave it at that. But it's okay. I think if you're a huge fan of American Psycho, then you're gonna like it. I think if you like American Psycho, it's another story that you could read or you could not read. So that's where that ends. Next up, we have Wesley Dodds Sandman #1, written by Robert Venditti with artwork by Riley Rossmo. So this is the Golden Age Sandman that comes out of the Night Terror books, and it's set in the 40s. So it's classic Sandman, and so what it is Wesley Dodd. He's developed a, kind of a sleeping gas for war to, put the enemy asleep instead of killing them. And he takes it to the army, and they're like, son, our job is to kill people, not put them to sleep. And, so, he obviously, he has this notebook with these formulas of different, sleeping gas or different gases. And, while he's out, somebody goes in and steals it. So there's kind of something going on. And really this is a setup book. For me, the really big one, I love Riley Rossmo's artwork. Now, I know it's not going to be for everybody, but I really like it. And I think he brings, his style really fits that 40s sort of thing. And obviously this first issue is a setup. Venditti does a nice job of, introducing him and kind of giving you the basics of Sandman. And, it's a setup, but I did enjoy it. I think, the key is obviously with anything, the second and third issue, where are they going to take this? But I do like it, and I think it's worth checking out. And like I said, I'm a big fan of Riley Rossmo, and Venditti's story complemented the art and vice versa. So, I think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Green Lantern #4, written by Jeremy Adams with artwork by Zermanico. So this issue, Sinestro showed up last issue. So now we're introduced to his son, Sin Son, who has, and basically Sinestro wants Hal's ring. So Hal gives it to him, but now Hal has made the ring that it only works with him. It's kind of like a fingerprint thing. It checks your fingerprint. And so obviously, because Sinestro just wants to leave Earth, but he's trapped because his ring doesn't work anymore. And so what it is his son comes in, and they set these sonic bombs, and then it's the team up of Barry and Hal again, because Barry helps him defuse the bombs in the city. That's kind of the basic setup here. I mean, Adams is still building this new storyline for Green Lantern, so it's still moving along pretty decently. Zermanico's artwork's really, really nice. I think it's an enjoyable book. I don't think it's necessarily overwhelming me, but it's a decent Green Lantern story, and we'll kind of see how this kind of first story arc ends. But it's moving along. I wouldn't say it's blowing me away, but it's pretty decent, and still worth reading. I'm enjoying the issues, so we'll kind of see where it goes in this first story arc. Next up, we have A Haunted Girl #1, written by Ethan Sachs and Naomi Sachs, with artwork by Marco Lorenza. So what it is there's this 16-year-old girl, Clea, who as a child runs along, comes across this like ghost in, because she's Japanese American. And so now she lives in the US with her dad, but because she's seen these, demons, ghosts, monsters, whatever, she tried to commit suicide just to, get away. So now, she's trying to, deal with all this, and her dad's helping her deal with it. But then we find out that there's something going on, that she's been like chosen or possessed, or not really possessed, but something will happen. And obviously being 16, it's a puberty thing, and she has some sort of purpose with these ghosts or whatever that are kind of haunting her. So that's kind of the basic setup. I mean, the thing is, it was okay. I think, it kind of set up the story, but I don't know that there was anything particularly compelling about it to me. I mean, I liked it. It was nice and everything, but it was like, okay, I got to the end of the issue. Obviously, she hit puberty and something's happening, but I didn't really get a compelling reason to like feel that I need to come back for a second issue. The book wasn't bad. It just kind of was just, okay, that's nice. So there was that. Lorenzo's artwork, the artwork's nice and everything, gets the job done, but I just think overall it was okay. It just didn't, blow me away. Next up, we have The Madness #3, written by J. Michael Straczynski, with artwork by Aiko. So Sarah is now hunting down the people that killed her family, or the government-sanctioned hunting down the family. So this issue, she's found one of the other heroes that has, basically, dropped the bomb. And so she basically interrogates the heck out of him, like baiting him to hell, to find out, who basically greenlit this whole thing. And that's what this issue is. This is really kind of an interesting story. I like how Straczynski's kind of taking the time to let it unfold. That's, I think, a big plus. Really the big win here is Aiko's artwork. It's really a gorgeous looking book. And I also think it's interesting how, he's kind of, the Straczynski's dealing with Sarah's, her grief, her anger, revenge, and all this stuff. And once again, it's interesting because she has all these powers, but she can only use one at a time. So it's really quite interesting, to kind of see where they're going to take this. I'm liking it so far, and I still think it's worth checking out. But it's something a little different. Kind of a different take on a superhero. It's not necessarily like an evil dark thing. It's just like, you effed with her family, and she's coming for you. Next up, we have World's Finest Teen Titans #4, written by Mark Waid, with artwork by Emanuela Lupacchino. So what this issue does is, so Wally, Roy, and Garth get together at Wally's parents' house, to kind of have a weekend away from things. And it's really interesting because what I'm really liking about what Wade's doing with this book is he's really telling stories about the characters. Not necessarily doing big superhero. Now there is some, there's some superhero stuff that does take place in the book, but really the main crux of this issue story is, the three boys somewhat trying to lead a normal life. And what the interesting thing is, that Roy, he's the rich kid and everything. And, they finally confront Roy, or, they kind of say, the parents tell Wally that, like, he's not necessarily a good influence because, he always picks on Garth. And it was really interesting. I loved how Wade did that. It was really, kind of really, emotional to for the characters, and I really like that. And Lou Pacino's artwork is really really nice. I'm really liking this book because it's really a character study book. You know, there is action and everything, and you know, you have the regular Titans book for that, but I like that this is different, and that's what I like about it. Next up, we have Army of Darkness Forever, #1, written by Tony Fleece, with artwork by Justin Greenwood. What this is, so Army of Darkness had two different endings. There was the ending, the theatrical ending, which is Ash coming back to the S-Mart and a demon came. There's that ending. And then there was the original ending where he drinks a potion. He's supposed to sleep until he wakes up into the correct time. And he actually takes too much and he oversleeps. So really what this first issue is kind of somewhat a recap of the movie. And, you know, it's kind of like, I understand why Fleece did this, and I think it's a really great thing. But if you're a big fan of the movie, you kind of already know this stuff. But with that being said, there is new stuff to go along with the explanation. And one of those is, in the past, the girl that, you know, kind of his love interest in the film that left behind, she's now... so there's kind of basically three stories going on. There's the future one, future Ash story. Then there's the present day S-Mart story. And then there's the past story with the girl. So all of those are kind of separate, but they're all kind of interweaving together, which is actually quite fascinating in that respect. Like I said, not a knock against Fleece. He's really setting up the whole thing to tell you these stories, which once again kind of leans back into the film. But if you haven't seen the film in a while, it's a good refresher course. Greenwood's artwork is nice. You know, it does the job and everything. I wouldn't say it's super flashy, but it's nice. I think for me, the big key is going to be where Fleece takes us in the second issue. That's going to be the really key. How he kind of, now that we've explained all these, you know, these three stories, how they're all going to like weave together, or how they, you know, if they're going to even relate together. I think that'll be interesting. It's definitely one of the better Army of Darkness books, and I think it's worth checking out this week for sure. Tony's a good writer, so I have faith in this book. And finally this week we have Danger Street #10, written by Tom King, with artwork by George Fornes. There's a lot going on. Once again, if you haven't read the first 9 issues, then there's nothing I can tell you. You know, you need to be reading this book. So we have Lady Cop has the Dr. Fate helmet. You have a Commodore has you know, found his knight in the Creeper. You have the Outsiders attacking the Commodore. You have then you have the Green Team with Warlord and Starman. You know, and then Orion is, he's kind of stuck on Earth. He's not doing well. He's now drunk and playing games with Mother Box. Well, that was freaking hilarious. I don't really want to say anymore because it's just, I love this book to death. How King is balancing all these plates with all these characters is still mind-boggling to me. And then you have Fornes, who's able to visually, you know, take all of King's insane story and just bring it to life in the art. It's a gorgeous looking book, and it's amazing how, you know, all these, you know, characters that most people have no clue of who they are. I love it. I think it's amazing. I think King's knocking out of the park, and Fornes is just the artwork's gorgeous. And hopefully, if you've not been reading this, definitely when this comes out as a collection, there is a trade of the first 6 issues, but I'm sure there's going to be a big set that will collect all 12 issues, and definitely check that when it comes out. But I love this book, and you really need to be reading it. It's really that good. That's going to do it this week. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. There's Annie, there's Derek, there's Wendy, and just as a heads up, this Saturday, Tony Fleece is going to be there signing copies of his new Army of Darkness books, along with Stray Dogs and Local Man, his other book that he's doing right now. So definitely, if you're in the Long Beach area, definitely come by and say hi to Tony and get some signatures and buy some books from Brian. That's always a big help. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other. Kindness doesn't cost anything. And really be kind to yourself. I know times are tough out there on many different levels, but take care of yourself, and that's, you need to be kind to yourself as along with being kind to others. With all the stuff going on in the world, being kind and to each other is really, really important right now. So just take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourself and others. That's just, really take care. Trust me, it's not pretty out there, but just take care of yourself. So thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comments are welcome. So we'll be back again next week with more comic book reviews. There's comics that come out every week, so we'll be back. And as always, thanks for watching. It's really appreciated. And take care of yourselves. We'll see you again next week. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.